Initialize sequence now.
Join the countdown for actors, modeling, singers, songwriters, musicians, dancers, performers, and voiceovers from across the nation to across the world. Here with Dawn Reese on Hollywood Connections on Tam Talk Radio 106.1 FM.
Hi, this is Pam Tillis, and you're listening to Hollywood Connection with Dawn.
Hi, I'm Gina Lee Nolan, and you're listening to Hollywood Connections.
Hey, everyone. I'm Cassie Skirbo with Dawn, the lovely Dawn, and you're listening and watching Hollywood Connection.
Hey, what up, you guys? It's your girl, Vivica Fox. You are watching Hollywood Connections on Tam Talk Radio with Dawn. Little foxy thing. Enjoy.
Hi, you're listening to Hollywood Connections with Dawn Reese, and I'm Kathleen Gatty from General Hospital, Dr. Liesl Obrecht.
Hello, I'm Butch Patrick, and you're listening to Dawn Reese's Tam Talk Radio, Hollywood Connections.
John Schneider, you're listening to Dawn Reese on Hollywood Connections.
Listening to Hollywood Connections, I'm Kirstie Alley.
Hey, this is Jason Thompson from The Young and the Restless. You're listening to Hollywood Connections with Dawn Reese.
Hi, Squidward Tentacles here, reminding you about Hollywood Connections with Dawn Reese. If you want to know about voiceovers, this is where you need to tune in. You can hear me too. Ha, ha, ha. Have a great day. Is this thing still on?
Hey, this is Brittany Sarpy from Young and the Restless, and you are listening to Dawn Reese, Hollywood Connection.
Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Hollywood Connections with Dawn Reese. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Charlie Adler, and I'm shouting out, I guess that's a word, because I'll be on Hollywood Connections soon.
Welcome to Hollywood. What's your dream? Everybody comes here. This is Hollywood, land of dreams. Some dreams come true, some don't, but keep on dreaming. This is Hollywood, always time to dream, so keep on dreaming.
Hey, and welcome to Hollywood Connections. We are super excited that you joined us, so don't turn that channel because I have some amazing people I want to introduce. We're going to start over to our left, and I want everyone to come back and listen. Don't go anywhere. You know, if you have to get gas, leave the car running. No. But let's talk about who you are and tell everybody your name. Here's the microphone.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Dawn.
You're welcome.
My name is Dolly Rivera. I'm originally from New York City, and I relocated to Spring Hill, Florida 6 years ago, and had the pleasure of meeting Ellen Paul from the Nature Coast Community Services Foundation, and I have been doing volunteer work to help the homeless out of the woods.
That's exciting. And I love what you do for helping people. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ellen Paul. I'm the founder and executive director of the Nature Coast Community Services Foundation. And as Dolly said, it's our goal not just to feed you or to clothe you. Our job is to get you out of the woods.
Wow.
And as of this taping right now, we are 101 people that we have gotten out of the woods.
Yay. That's Bobby will find that
County.
hand clap. Yay.
Yeah,
That's
thank
amazing.
You.
And then last but not least is amazing superstar. You can bring the mic over. We're sharing.
Too much noise here. So my name is Fran Capo. I happen to be the Guinness Book of World Records fastest talking woman in the world. I'm an author. I've written 22 books. And I'm also a stand-up comic. And the way that I met these two ladies is they were doing a fundraiser that we just did, October 7th. And they said, what better way to do a fundraiser than to bring laughter to people? And at the same time, we're raising money for a good cause. So I was the comic along with Tony Belmont. Tony Belmont, who is the National Comedy Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And so we did a fantastic sold out show. And we're here to talk about laughter and to talk about the mission and to talk about the music. That's why we're here. Okay.
We love comedy.
Amen.
You don't even have to go to Pandora and listen to it. You just have to listen to it on Tam Talk Radio. And this amazing man will be back about 8:30ish. Tell everybody who you are.
My name is Rod Gerard, and I'm from the UK, as you could probably tell by the accent. And I was with Herman Sermitz for 10 years.
I know. I posted that. People are like, I love that group. Oh, my God. You may have some call-ins. And we'll be back. So let's start with you. For comedy, when did you start comedy?
Okay, so I say I'm 37 till I'm 97 and sticking to it. So with that being said, the way that I started doing stand-up comedy, I was at Queens College.
Okay.
And I was going to be an attorney. I was like going to be an accountant and a philosopher actually at the same time, which doesn't make sense because it's like 1 + 1 is 2. Why? So I said, okay, God, if I should do this stand-up comedy thing, you need to give me a sign. And so what wound up happening was I'm very much into signs. And so I went to a car show and I filled out this handwriting thing and it said, you have a great sense of humor, use it to make money. I'm like, that's just a coincidence. Then I'm standing online at Great Adventures and some guy goes, I just happened to hear you talk and I think you're funnier than some of the comics. I say, it's just a guy online. Meanwhile, God's going, how many signs do I have to give this lady here? So then I pray again and I'm like, God, can you make it convenient? And so what happened was I was supposed to go into my class that day, go through one door, there was construction. I go through another door and it says stand-up comedy auditions today.
Oh, wow.
And it's so that the winner of this contest would actually get to perform at Creighton and Gray's, which happened to be a comedy club that was 2 blocks from my house. I went, okay, God, I get it. That's convenient. I win the contest. I get a standing ovation the first night and I bombed the second night. Luckily, they did a story on me the first night and I've been doing stand-up comedy since. And luckily, I was just on Access Hollywood with Mario Lopez.
Oh, my gosh.
And my philosophy is just say yes and figure it out later. So because of that, I've written books. I've done movies.
Wow. Tell me about your books that you've written.
Okay. So I've written 22 books. And
all published.
And all published. Yeah, it's very hard if they sit in the filing cabinet. I call that a work in progress.
No, so many people I know want to write books and they're like procrastinating and they don't do it. But here, 22.
Okay, see, this is the thing about procrastination. People always say I want to do this, and they have the I want to, but forget the I want to, because as Yoda says, there is no try, just do. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the whole thing is, if you want to do it, just shut up and do it.
Exactly.
Okay, stop with the I want tos. You just got to say, I want to do this. So just start with the title of the book and then just do it. So for me, whenever an opportunity comes up, I just say, well, the opportunity is there for a reason. I need to open that door, whether I'm scared or not, walk through it and do it. So all my books, I intentionally wrote, except for one book called Hopeville, the City of Light, which is a book that was channeled to me. And again, I guess me and God, he comes to me, but I don't listen very good. So I'm there at 4:00 in the morning and there's this dream going, get up, you got to write a book. And I'm like, oh, this is a weird dream. And it's like, get up, you got to write this book. And so I'm like, okay, so I get up, turn the light on. I don't see anybody. And so I'm like, wow, that was a really weird dream. And then it's like, no, get up, you have to write. So then I say, okay, I hear you. It's 4:00 in the morning. They said, write this title down, Hopeville, the City of Light. So I write the title down and then I start arguing with the voice. Listen, I got to take my mother to work in the morning and my kid to school. You can give me the book later. I had to get my car fixed. I go to get my car fixed. I was right in the middle of writing another book at the time. And I've never had writer's block with all 22 books. So I'm at the car shop getting my book. I go to type and my fingers are like frozen on the keyboard. And I went, wow, 3 hours are going to be here. What was the name of that book? I said, oh yeah, Hopeville, the City of Light. I type it, don't know what I typed for 3 hours. The guy says, Fran, your car's ready. That was really weird. He goes, you didn't move, you didn't go to the bathroom, you didn't look like you were breathing. I said, I think I wrote a book. And then I left it. And then I said, if this book was given to me, I don't want to get heaven. And God goes, I gave you a book, you did nothing with it, now you're going to sweep. So I figured I better do this book. And when I brought it out there to the public, the book hit number 11 on Amazon, Hopeville, the City of Light. And it's got the 44 secrets of how to live a happy life in it.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. So you're going to have to come back as well and bring your books.
I will.
And we'll show
absolutely.
them.
Yes.
We'll make that happen. A lot of people I know are going to ask, how do you start? Do you start on the computer? Do you start on a notepad?
For me, it's if I have an idea in my head, this is about books you're talking about, right? Yeah. So if I have an idea in my head, I always first start with the title, because the title then gives me a way that I'm going to go with the book. And I never edit myself. It's like whatever's in me, I allow it to go on the page. After it's all there, then I go back and I add the jokes.
Do you put it on like Document Word or something? Or
in the beginning, it was handwritten because there was no, I mean, I'm not saying I'm so old, but there was no such thing as a computer and I was chiseling it on a rock in a cave. I'm just saying that in the beginning, I would hand scribble it because I felt there was a bigger connection from me to the page.
Right.
But every single thing I write, except for Hopeville, because Hopeville was channeled to me. So every single thing I write is filled with humor, which was the importance of why we did this.
That's amazing.
Because humans were the only animal given the ability to laugh. And if we're given that ability, we're given that ability for a reason. And the reason is because it's like a teapot over boils. It's like the release valve.
Yes.
And it actually helps calm you down, the adrenaline and the endorphins, I mean, that are released when you laugh.
I agree.
And so going back to the writing of answering your question, so I just put it down on the page. There's no self-judgment. I write it, I add the jokes, and then I go back in and I edit, and then I realize, okay, Ellen is like the English teacher here. I am not I'll write something and then I go, yeah, I know it's the wrong year. Fix it. That's why and I say water, WADDAR, whatever.
Yeah.
But you edit it. Just don't take out the jokes. And then together it's a team effort and the book gets done.
But how did you publish it?
Oh, the very first book I published, not Hopeville, the very first book I published, somebody was called me and said, hey, Fran, they're writing a book. It happened in Utah. And I called the company. I went, listen, no offense, but that's going to be a brochure. And I said, what about it happened in New York? And she goes, oh, we don't do East Coast books. I said, I'm a stand-up comic. If I do, it happened in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania, the 3 states I was performing in.
Right.
I said, I could sell them at the back of the room. I said, let me just write it. And if you don't like it, you could say no. And then she said, well, you have to write a proposal. Had no idea what a proposal was, but I didn't want to tell her. So I said, well, hand me your proposal. So I write it in your format. So then she gave it to me and then I wrote it. And then she said, how long is it going to take you to write? I had no idea how long a book takes to write. So I said 4 months. And she went, 4 months? And I thought she meant too long. So I went, 2 months? She goes, 2 months? I go, yeah. She goes, most people take a year. And then
Exactly.
I was like, damn, why did I say 2 months? But I wrote the book in 2 months. And since then, there's a couple of books I've written in 2 weeks. Because if I get it in my head, all I have to do is say, there's 10 chapters and there's 30 days. So that means I just have to write a half a chapter a day. And then I have to give myself, in case something happens and I can't write for 2 days, and then I need to give myself edit time. So I do it mathematically and I divide how much I have to do a day.
Wow, that's amazing. So I want everyone to know your website where they can see all your books and who you are.
Yes, if they go to Fran Capo, like head of the mob, CAPO, like Peter, CAPO, francapo.com. And for any reason, if you forget that, just go to the Guinness Book of World Records, fastest talking woman, and like thousands of YouTube videos come up and it'll lead you to my website, francapo.com.
That's amazing. So I know a lot of the people. Is there any kind of funny stories or maybe a quick sit-down stand-up routine that you can do on air? Of course, we are FCC rules, so we have to be careful. I know we had stand-up comics here, and Bobby's like, oh, my God.
No. I realize you cannot. And there's no bleeping button. I know you get 7-second delay, but you don't feel like that, especially not with the fastest talker. Yeah, exactly. Too late. I already said 3. You missed them. Okay. But, okay. So I'll just tell the story of how I broke the world record. Okay. So I was working at a radio station, WBLS FM in New York City, and I was writing comedy, but kidding around one day, I said I could do a really cool Mae West impression, but I called the character June East, Mae West's long-lost sister. So all of a sudden, he flings the weather and traffic copy. And you know, in radio, when the little red tally light comes on, you can't have dead air. Right. So all of a sudden, I'm like, ooh, today the weather and traffic is. Ooh. And in the 30 seconds I happened to do it, a lady from the Daily News was listening. And she said, oh, I'm doing a story on weather and traffic people. How long you been doing it? So I'm not going to tell her 30 seconds. So I said, oh, yeah, I've been doing it a while. She said, what are you planning on doing next? I didn't have a next, but I had a lady from the Daily News. So I said, oh, I'm thinking of breaking a world record. And she goes, for what? But I didn't have a for what, so I can't tell you. She goes, listen, the article has to go on by 6 o'clock today. If you decide you want to let me know, give me a call. So I run out, buy a Guinness book, start looking through it, and see fast talking. People always told me I talk fast. Okay. So I call her 5 minutes to 6. And I go, all right, I'll tell you, I'm thinking of breaking the world record fast talking. She goes, what's the record at? I'm looking at the book. I go, 552 words a minute. Oh. She goes, what are you at? I go, 550. Those last 2 words are a killer. So she prints it in the paper. And the very next day, the Larry King Live people call me up and ask me to go on the show and break the record.
Oh, you went to Larry King.
Yeah. So the thing was, I didn't know who Larry King was. All I heard cable. So I went, is this some kind of porn? And they go, honey, no, this is a national show. I go, what if I don't break the record? She goes, Larry doesn't care whether you break the record or not. He just cares that you try it on his show first. Nice. So there I'm at home practicing, because when the article came out, the newspaper called and they said that they wanted me to go on their show. I had 6 hours to practice to try to break a world record. So I'm over there, smoke's coming out of my head, you know. And so I went on the show to break the record. And at that time, I do 585 words a minute. And then I rebroke it at the Guinness Arts Museum in Vegas doing 603.32 words a minute, which comes out to 11 words a second. And that's how I got into the book.
Wow, amazing.
Okay.
You're definitely a special. We got to bring you back with all those books. I'm so honored to have you here. It's a pleasure, especially for all those comics. We're going to come back at the end and you can think about any advice to new comics out there.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of comics watching as well. Let's go to our next VIP guest I call and introduce yourself again. And I love what you do in the community.
Hi, I'm Ellen Paul. I'm Executive Director and founder of the Nature Coast Community Services Foundation.
And where's that located?
We're in Spring Hill. Our headquarters are in Spring Hill, but we do serve parts of Pasco and parts of Citrus County.
I saw the building. It looks amazing out there from out in Spring Hill.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So how long have you been doing what you do?
My whole life.
Wow. How did you get into helping people? I know that's really from the heart, and a lot of people don't have that.
They just don't know they don't have that.
Right.
My father was director of social welfare for the Council of Churches. And when I was 6 or 7, we had just moved back into this country. I didn't speak English really well. I spoke Greek very well. And he said, come to my office. We have had a Thanksgiving, bring a can kind of an event. The entry was a can.
Okay.
Bring a can of beans or peas or salmon, and you can see the show. So his office was full of all of these cans. And my job and my sister's job was to sort the cans. And then we helped distribute the cans.
How old were you about?
No older than 6.
Wow.
I could have been as young as 4. But our job was to sort the cans by categories. And when they got to these things called artichokes, I was not sure at all where they belonged, but we were tutored and we got it right. So my earliest memories about being in this business or in this line of work, and I would call it line of heart, not line of work, is sorting cans for the National Council of Churches.
Wow. Now, what inspirational story can you give us that's something you've seen? I'm sure you have many stories, but something that stands out to people. Like, well, if I'm driving down the road and I see somebody at a bus station, or if I see somebody that, if I try to help them out, when I can, and I'm praying for them. God, Father, in the name of Jesus, make sure you help that person get a car or whatever it is. I mean, I'm always doing that down the road. That's just me. But what inspirational story that comes to mind that just stands out for everyone? I call miracle story.
You want a miracle story?
That too, if you have
I have one that happened today.
Oh.
Yeah, today.
I love it.
I'm working with this gentleman named, and I'm not kidding, Billy Bills. What parent would do that to a child?
Billy Bills.
But they did. Billy Bills calls me yesterday and he says, Miss Ellen, I need, and he gives me a list of things, and one of them is a pair of work boots. I can't get work without work boots. And I said, Billy, I just don't have any work boots. Okay, that was yesterday. Today, I do have a real strong relationship with the universe.
Awesome.
And the universe must have heard Billy because today on the way to the studio, I have to drop off something else to another one of our clients. And he's got these perfectly beautiful, brand new tan work boots.
Oh, wow.
Strung over his handlebars. And I'm saying, hey, Kurt, you got a new pair of shoes. Those are really nice looking shoes. And he says, no, Ellen, those are for you. And I said, really? What size are they? And he said, they're 10.5.
Wow.
And I said, thank you so much, Kurt. I called Billy right away and I said, Billy, what size shoe are you? And he said, 10.5.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
This kind of miracle happens so often. It's just inexplicable.
Wow.
I've had mothers tell me they need a crib for their baby. I don't have a crib. I'm taking the trash out of my front yard. And across the street, my neighbor has a gorgeous, unused white crib.
Oh, my God.
That she's put out in front of her house for the trash tomorrow. I go over to Ann and I say, Ann, you need that crib. She says, no. My grandbaby is older now. She doesn't need the crib. I say, can I have it? This happens all the time.
Now, if somebody would like to donate money or donate anything or articles, or what are you accepting right now? Everything or
anything that you would use to operate a house, unless it requires electricity. We work with people who live in the woods, in vans, in little metal sheds in people's backyards and under bridges, abandoned hunting lodges.
Wow.
They do not have access to electricity. So we need clothing, always short of men's clothing, women's clothing, shoes, socks, bedding, linens, towels, always need towels, pots, pans. They do cook. Anything that you would take on a camping trip, we can use.
You know, you don't realize when you put your head down at night how blessed you are. You may have had an interesting day or whatever it is. And, you know, and here I'm hearing this. And again, this is just our people in our area. You know, it's not Los Angeles with the homeless on the streets. Like I've blown away by what I've seen. Here, the people need help. And the more people that you help, God will just open so many doors of opportunity as well. And where do they call or donate for the website? Or?
Well, our phone number is 352-600-9555. If you would like to contact us or make a contribution or inquire about how you can get involved, our website is naturecoastservices.org.
Okay. I saw that you had something for teens there. Is that in your category or is that another department? I was looking at the website. They had something for teens that they help teenagers out. It was on the website when I was looking for the National Comedy Hall of Fame.
Okay, we help people from all ages. We have helped a baby who was literally a couple of days old. And our oldest person is a woman who's age 71, who has been living in a tent for 12 years.
Oh, God bless her. Wow. Wow, that's really deep. That's, wow. And I have no words.
Let me say something else. We will take things that you don't think we can use, and because we can't use them, we cannot use your tuxedo. I'm sorry, Mr. Herman's Hermit.
He'll be
I'm sure it would be really spiffy, but my people in the woods don't need that. We don't need your high school prom dress. We don't need your wedding dress. We don't need your stiletto heels. But I do need them because what we do with them is that we work with organizations that are in high crime areas or areas where people are dying of drug overdoses. And we give them to an organization that's allied with us so that these people can be put to rest looking the way their family would like them to look.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And do you have to live in the Spring Hill area or is it anywhere in our Florida area if they
call me, and it depends on what's on my calendar.
Right.
We need bicycles, lots and lots of bicycles, please.
Okay.
And so we will come, we will find you, or we will ask you to bring them to us. But yeah, and we have just opened up a facility that will be the only available housing in Hernando County for homeless vets.
Oh, I have a friend that does a vet show that I need to connect you with him.
Okay.
And you know who he is. Yeah. So I'll definitely make sure you guys connect as well on that too.
Thank you.
Well, amazing lady you are. I'm in awe of what you're doing and more people need to help other people.
Amen.
Yep. I believe that. What do you do for your me time? What is your fun thing that you like to do? I'm going to come back to you later and talk about that too.
Okay. I have 5 dogs and 5 cats.
Okay. That is a family. And what kind of dogs and cats?
The cats are cats. You know, they're between 14 and 18 pounds, and the vet has put the 18-pounder on a diet, but we're not paying any attention to that. The largest dog is a 62-pound pit bull mix. The smallest dog is a 10-pound Chihuahua with 10 pounds of fury. And he is my personal bodyguard.
They are. I'll tell you, we have our Bichon Puna, Jack Russell, and they are just our babies.
Absolutely.
They sure are.
And that's my me time.
Wow. You are amazing. I've got some other people to hook you up with as well. As my brain is just going, oh my gosh, I got to get her connected to this lady and this lady.
And can I say something?
Yes.
That my ministry in the woods like this started with the animals.
Really?
Uh-huh. My heart is really for the animals. And I realized that the homeless people have pets.
Mm-hmm.
Duh.
Mm-hmm.
And these pets, and we're talking cats and dogs mostly, but we have one little guy whose name is Joey, who has a golden, I don't know what he is. He's a lizard of some sort, and he will grow up to be 6 feet long when he's mature, but now he's only about 18 inches. So we've got pets all over the place. We have pet squirrels out there, sugar gliders, and these animals need medical care and food.
Right.
So I started out bringing food to the animals.
Oh,
that's
my
how
gosh.
I started out.
It's like Snow White. Snow White comes to mind.
So I was in Mazarick Town, and I had my very first load of dog food.
Oh, that's amazing.
And this enormous woman comes up to me. She was probably 6'6" and 300, 400 pounds. Huge woman comes up to me. She was living in a station wagon with herself, her grandchild, and their beloved
Cannot
dog.
imagine that. I just can't. That blows me away.
And be prepared to be blown even further.
Yeah.
So she comes up to me and she says, I took my dog to the pound this morning. I can't afford to feed him. I got him there and I couldn't bring him in. And I sat in the parking lot and I cried and I cried.
That's the hardest thing in the world.
I put him back in my car and we drove back to Mazarick Town. And she said, God, show me a sign. God, send me an angel. Help me keep my dog. Help me keep my family intact. 3 hours later, she's meeting me on the side of the road in my little Prius. I pop open, and she says to me, and I'm handing out food and clothing and blah, 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 blah. And she says to me, you wouldn't have any dog food, would you?
Oh, my gosh.
And I said, yes, I would. I pop my lid open, and there's 500 pounds of dog food. She grabbed me and she said, you are the angel I was praying for.
Well, forget the Hollywood Connections show. This is Miracle Story show.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because I do have miracle stories on other days, but we're adding that in today.
This goes on and on.
I do have to shout out because I know beaminghope.org, our church, has a food pantry and a free clothing store for people to come in. And they have given so much food away for families. And that's here in Largo. So beaminghope.org. Please check it out if you're looking for a non-denominational, really amazing church. So, yeah, they are just phenomenal, Pastor Joe over there.
And the need is sadly a growing market.
Yes, especially now, even more and more people are, I know people are coming back to work, but it's hard, single moms and families, and
rents are going up. People are losing their housing.
That's right.
I'm seeing families for the first time that have had successful businesses for 27 years. I've now got families like that with me.
Wow. Well, you have angels all around you.
Let me give Dolly a chance to say what she does.
Yes. Nice to have you at the show. And I know we're sharing today. It's Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. We have trolleys and we share.
Well, I'm talking from a personal perspective and why I've been volunteering for Nature Coast and working with Ellen Paul. I relocated here 6 years ago from New Jersey. My parents lived here for 20 some odd years, and my sister had suffered from mental illness for 45 years. But I'm talking about severe mental illness, and she was in and out of hospitals, Baker acted numerous times.
Do you think that comes to stress-wise, with stress or anything? Or
well, it was like the cancer of the brain, but it's called mental illness,
right.
And it needs to be properly medicated as far as a cocktail that works for the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Florida, unfortunately, they do not have the services that really would take to administer the proper cocktail and monitor the patient so that, like anybody who's suffering from any other disease, because it is a disease of the brain, but this is a disease that needs to be monitored. And the biggest problem here in Florida is that with my sister's mental illness, she would become psychotic in a relapse and then would be Baker acted and then put into a hospital for a very short term. And they would administer just the generic approach and then spit out into the streets. And when she's psychotic, the family, my father, elderly parents could not manage her. I was living in New Jersey at the time. And anyway, to make a long story short, that became extremely, for me, I'm still grieving it. 2 years ago, she was suicidal because she just couldn't handle this mental relapse anymore. She knew where she was going, because a mental relapse of going from psychosis into psychotic behavior, it starts to linger. In other words, it stays longer and longer and longer to the point of no return. Your brain is totally deteriorating. And she knew at 65 that it was getting to that point of no return. So she was suicidal. And her friend had her Baker acted into a psychiatric hospital in Hernando County, but they chose, in fact, they knew her for 20 years, instead of retaining her and keeping her there until she was stabilized on the right, appropriate medical cocktail, they spit her out into the street. She was homeless, and I didn't know where she was. I tried to find her, and then when I finally found her, it was because of a sheriff calling me and saying, "Are you her sister?"
Oh, thank
And she
God.
was in the woods in Hernando County. He says, "She's trespassing behind this motel. If you don't come pick her up, we're going to have to unfortunately arrest her." She had been arrested here in Florida many times because of trespassing in a psychotic behavior, as a psychotic episode as a result of hospitalizations not properly taking care of her. And I remember at that time, I called Ellen Paul, and I'm like, "I'm here with my sister, and I don't know where to take her." There's no, and there was no place in Hernando County. And this is why we did this fundraiser, because Ellen Paul and the Nature Coast Community Services Foundation is building a home for people suffering from mental illness, homelessness, and
my gosh.
giving them temporary housing to rebuild their lives. But in addition to that, the most important factor is it's not just a shelter. It's going to have community services in a building attached to it.
Wow.
As well as a depot to get fooding, clothing, toiletries, everything. And of course, with monitoring of a very genuine, caring environment. I just want to say one last thing. My sister, at that time, when she was thrown into the woods and we couldn't find a shelter in Hernando County, Ellen said, take her to a place in Pasco County called, of all names, the Holy Ground.
Wow.
We went there. They were beyond capacity. And the lady at the Holy Ground says, "How long has your sister been suffering from these psychotic episodes?" I said, "We're going back 35, 40 years. She says, "Honey, just let her go." I mean, what do you mean let her go? I can't let her go. That's my sister. Let her go. She'll find a place. You're going to have to go. We ended up, guess where? In Clearwater.
Wow. Wow.
In Clearwater from Hernando County, because we couldn't find her a place. And within 3 months, my sister died on a park bench in Tampa.
Oh, no.
And I didn't get the call because she was missing person. I got a call from the coroner's office. "Are you Rosario Rivera Martinez's sister?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "Did you find her?" And that's when I learned that she had passed away on a park bench. And a
How long
homeless
ago?
July of 2020.
2020, just recently. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And people don't, I have to say, people don't realize how fast life goes. I had 2 children in a stroller, and I remember them saying, "Oh, enjoy that time. It's going to go." And I look back and I go, "Oh my God, who's that woman that told me it was warp speed?" And I'll be honest with you, in the last year, I've had 5 deaths in my family. My son passed away last July.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he was 34. Then my brother was 60. He texted me saying, having heart attack bad. And it wasn't a heart attack, it was a blood clot. And it was like his last words to say goodbye. And 20 minutes later from Texas, we got a call that he passed away. My mother-in-law's husband, 95. Yeah, it's kind of a good run. I'm sorry, Jody, if you're listening, but it's still her husband. My father-in-law, 87, and a niece in New York that was in the New York Times that had the cheesemonger factory. I mean, and people go to me, "How are you dealing with this?"
Yes.
And really, you lost your son. To tell you the truth, that's why I started Miracle Stories, to help people, learn. I've had people that died and went to heaven and hell, but they've sent me so many books, and learning how glorious it is. That's what got me through it in my church. There's no other way. So, now I'm speaking about how to get through grieving. And it all came through Tan Talk Radio as well.
Thank you.
I thought I was helping myself. I'm helping so many other people.
Yes, you are.
I didn't realize that. So anyways, I just want to give you that of how do you get through grieving? Yes. Find a good church, a good pastor to pray with you as well. Excuse me. But it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm so sorry
Thank
to
you,
hear
Dawn.
that happened.
Thank you for having us.
And she also has a book that she wrote.
Well, I didn't write the book. I have a good book that it's called the Uncovery, and it's written by George Wood.
Okay.
It was recently published July 26, Amazon.com, and it's called the Uncovery. My sister, in the years that she had these horrible psychotic episodes and was actually sleeping on a park bench or a couch in Ybor City, she would be rescued and brought to live in their garage. George Wood and Julie Wood, they're pastors. He's called the Tattoo Pastor. He's got the Timothy Initiative, where he brings in felons from prison to restore their lives. They have the Petra House, where they bring homeless people in. They live in the hood. And my sister lived with them off and on, whether she was stable or not stable. They loved her just the same.
Wow.
And it was my sister's loss. He suffered it big time.
They will show up in your dreams. My mother showed up and I said, Nicholas, and she never shows up with my father. And she goes, I just wanted to tell you he's okay. You know, I mean, they start to show up in your dreams, and I believe that so much.
Yes.
And my prayers are with you as well.
Thank
I know
you.
we have 15 minutes left, and I'm going to have you back as another special as well. And I'm going to need a headset. And I've got this amazing man here that we want to thank Tony Belmont. Tony is with the National Comedy Hall of Fame. You can look that up. And he's looking for a place. I think he found one pretty soon. He has so many memorabilia things. He was a manager to so many comics, and his life story is amazing book as well. And I'm going to share my microphone and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are.
Hi, my name is Rod Gerard from the UK, and I guess you could describe me as a utility musician. I've been playing with bands, not too many, probably 3 or 4 over a period of 57 years. And my stories are not as exciting as you ladies, I have to tell you. But,
Not a competition.
but thanks for having me, Dawn. Anyway, thank you. So let's go back to '68. All the bands in my hometown, which is Manchester, Northwest England, worked for an agency called Kennedy Street Enterprises. And Kennedy Street had all the name bands, all of them you could think of from the 60s, the Hollies, Herman's Hermits, Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders, Freddie and the Dreamers. They had everybody. And right through the 80s, too, they had all the top bands. So I guess when somebody needed somebody, the word would get round because we all work for the same agency. And then you might get hired. That's what happened. So for 6 years, I played with Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders. I don't know if you girls remember that.
Do you play instrument as well?
Yeah, I play guitar and sing. So Wayne Fontana had A Game of Love and Groovy Kind of Love. 3 or 4 big hits. Sadly, he died 2 years ago. He had cancer, but he died. So I spent 6 years with him. And then for a couple of years, you still have to pay the mortgage and 2 cars. Mm-hmm. So I did walk-ons. I did TV and movies walk-ons.
Nice.
Which is easy money. You just show up and look good, and that's it.
Right.
And then I had met all the guys from the agency, and one day I'm at a club and I'm having a couple of beers, and I recognized this guy in the audience, and I thought, oh, geez, I'll go. I know him. Where do I know him from? And it was Lech Leckenby, the guitar player from Herman's Hermits, with his wife, Lainey. And he said, one of the guys is going to wrap it up. We're looking for somebody. I think you'd fit the job.
Perfect.
So I said,
place at the right time.
I said, I'll have to talk to my wife about it. I mean, when do you need to know? He said, tomorrow. It's always like that in business, right? And I spent almost 10 years with the band, which was fantastic, and until I retired.
I know that Bobby's got something we're going to play. Tell us what we're going to play.
Oh, this is probably No Milk Today, which was it was actually a B-side and reasonably successful here, but it was a #1 in Europe for about 6 weeks. I believe the clip they have is from a German TV show called Goldene Schlagerparade, which means Golden Hit Parade, and the No Milk Today.
Wow. All right. We'll be right back. I hope you enjoy this.
No milk today, it's in the sides of people passing by. Don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of our hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know how bad has that been? Behind the door, the Mallory is queen. No milk today, it wasn't our soul. The company was gone, we turned out into all that's left is a place that belongs me. A terraced house in a mixed-street back in town. Just shrine when I think I'll be lonely, just to up to down. No milk today, it wasn't our soul. The company was gone, we turned out into as the music plays across the distance, we felt it with the pulse. We start to have a mess. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my house, the end of all my dreams. How could they know how proud I said being behind the door of my love queen? No milk today, it wasn't our soul. The company was gone, we turned out into all that's left is a place like a lonely, a terraced house in a street back in town. There's a shrine when I think I'll be lonely, just to up to down. No milk today, my love is gone away. The promise that's great, a simple one. No milk today, it's taking on the sides, but people passing by don't know the reason. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my house, the end of all my dreams. How could they know the palace had been behind the door where my love is queen? No milk today, it wasn't our soul. The company was key, we turned back into all that's left is a place that can hold me. A terraced house in a main street back in town. All that's left is a place that can hold me. A terraced house in a main street back in town. All that's left is a place that can hold me. A terraced house in a main street back in town. All that's left is a place that can hold me.
Oh, look at that applause. That applause is from everybody watching and listening. Amazing. So, okay. So, what are you doing now these days?
Well, I play occasionally, but not a lot. Country music, would you believe? 80s and 90s country music.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the reason I think, because I've been asked many times, why country music, especially a guy from the UK. And the reason is probably we didn't get too much of it in Europe. It's an American thing, and I fell in love with it, and all the Alan Jacksons and Garth Brooks and Brooks and Dunn. I just fell in love with it, so I like to play that occasionally.
I also asked, do you have a local agent for TV and film here?
No.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? No, I have them. That's what the Hollywood Connections is about. I need to hook you. Well, I mean, if you have anybody representing you, I know Tony is representing you and helping you, but this is for TV and film, for commercials and movies. Right. It's any age, I mean, you have no idea what they're booking out there now, and you watch your commercials, it's everybody in movies. So I've got a local agent here, a couple of them.
Right.
So there you go.
That's nice. I spend most of my time with Janet, my other half. How the hell she's put up with me for 30 years, I don't know.
What would you like to say to her from the heart on the air?
Oh,
She's
a lifesaver. The best girl you could ever have. She's
and
a
how
lifesaver.
long have you been married?
Well, we're not married.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're really not married, but we have been Well, we started out friends in 1990. We met at the Iowa State Fair, would you believe? She's from Iowa, from Des Moines.
So what caught your eye with her?
Well, I just thought she was a great person, just a real nice, good person.
So what does it take to be in show business, to have a working relationship? And what is your secret to a good, successful relationship in
successful
your life?
relationship? You have to have a very understanding wife. I was married, and my career cost me my job. It cost me my marriage. So that's how difficult. Because when I was with the Hermits, for instance, we used to do 275 gigs a year.
Oh, that's a lot.
And all over the world.
There are sacrifices you have to make. And trust me, I look back and I go, oh my God, I was in Hollywood in my office doing castings for the Jenny Jones show, back in the days, over 150 acts on TV. And I look back and somebody asked me if I would do it over again. I said, there's a lot that I would do different. At first, I'm like, no, everything's great. But I'm like, no, there's a lot of things I do different. But that's a hard one.
I've been asked several times over the years, people said, how do you become successful? And in all honesty, it's you have to have a modicum of talent and a huge slice of good luck.
Wow. And what is your website? Or how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can get in touch with emails. I love emails. That's good. If you contact Rod Muso, which is RODMUSO @gmail.com, and that'll get me.
Perfect. Well, I know that there are questions coming in for comics, and do you have an agent? That's another question I want to ask you, as well as you book yourself, I think you just told me. And what is advice to new young comics out there that you'd like to tell everybody?
Okay. So first of all, as far as an agent, first of all, with stand-up comedy, the first thing you have to do is, it's different when you don't know the people in the audience and you have to get everybody to laugh. It's easy to make your friends laugh because you know their mentality, but you have to make a whole group of strangers laugh. I also say for young comics, never do political stuff because you don't know who's in the audience and you don't want to alienate 50% of your audience right up front. You do things that people can relate to, and everybody can relate. And here's the other thing. People go, sometimes comedy is cruel. No one ever finds a good date funny, okay? It's always the bad dates, the car that broke down. It's like a country western song, right? Because if you play it backwards, then the guy all of a sudden is married, he has his car, and his dog didn't die. So it's like, but the whole thing with comedy is stick to who you are, okay? And tell everybody's like, Rodney Dangerfield is very different than Joan Rivers, was very different than George Carlin. You have to stick to what you find is funny and do that. And as for anything, just like with music, just like with what you do, it's the matter of keeping it up. So you've got to get stage time. You get open mics when you're first starting out. You don't need an agent when you're first starting out because you don't even have an act. You got 5 minutes of material. What are they going to book you for? So you got to wait till you have half an hour and things. And the other thing that always cracks me up, two things, is that people will come up to you and go, I have a joke. Use this in your act. I'm like, okay, the joke's on the internet or not. I'm not going to be using that joke on the internet. And that joke was around, at the time of the caveman. Okay, so I'm not going to be doing that joke. And the other thing is you don't steal other people's material. Okay, but there are certain subjects that if something comes up, then everybody starts thinking about jokes about that particular subject. So that's simultaneous invention. Okay. As far as an agent, have I had agents? I've had agents over the years, but honestly, I wound up booking myself more because I do more than one thing, because I act and I'm a writer and this. They don't always know how to peg me. And they go, but which thing do you do? I go, but I do all of them. Think of me as an entertainer. So I know how to sell myself better. So, and I also have had agents who have gotten me bookings, and quite honestly, then I call back the client because now I'm speaking to the client, and I wound up getting myself a couple of extra $1,000. And the agent's like, how do you do it? I go, because obviously I thought I was worth more than you did. So I'm going to ask for that more money. And, but the thing is, if you have a good time on stage, be yourself and have a good time. If you have a good time, they'll have a good time. Never get mad at the audience if they're not laughing at your jokes. You can't get mad at them. That does not make them all of a sudden, oh, wow, she's screaming at me. Now I want to laugh at you.
say something. My first time on stage, nobody was laughing. And then later on, they were high-fiving me. And I was laughing myself because I thought I was funny and I didn't care. I said, I'm going to put this on TikTok and get 5,000 views.
Well, that's the other thing, because right now, social media is one way that everybody's getting popular by doing things. But you don't want to do it by, you're doing the whatever. I don't want to say, but some of these things on social media, I mean, I look at them and I'm like, really? How did that get 1 million views? That lady, is selling champagne in her shoe or some ridiculous thing that
I have a video that went viral on TikTok, 8.1 million views. It's our pontoon boat that looked like it was sinking. It's hilarious. I'll show you after the show. And I got paid from TikTok. I couldn't believe it. I made like $400 on it.
Yes, because if you get over a certain amount, it's the analytics. Right? And you're going, that didn't help the sinking ship. But thanks for the $400. Yeah. But yeah.
That's good.
I do have a book. I will just say this. I have a book called The Humor Approach, because out of the 22 books, but there's one that applies to comics. It's called The Humor Approach, How to Use Humor in Business and Everyday Life. And it talks about how to format a joke the right way. Not necessarily spell it right, Ellen, but it tells you how to do the jokes in a right way. It also tells you how to come up on stage, because you have to be able, if something comes up, you can't just stand there. If the lights go out, you just have to be able to say, what, you didn't pay your electric bill? You have to be able to come up with something.
A flight attendant flashlight, like.
Yeah, right. And send them this way and that way. But so that's it. And they could just check out all the stuff. I'm doing a show February 11th at the Welcome Home Center in Hernando County, and it's called Two Chicks and a Horsetail. Okay. And so that's the next show. But everything's on my website, Fran Capo, CAPO, francapo.com.
Before I go, I know this beautiful lady. I want to surprise you. I want to give you a commercial, a 30-second spot with one of my commercials that I sell. And I want to help you get more people to help donate. So when you can, we'll set it up with Bobby and you'll do a 30-second spot, or Bobby can cut it for you if you like. And we'll run that to get the word out even more so.
Okay.
All right.
Can I add one addendum?
Yes, the microphone. Oh, that one.
Okay. This one. Yeah, it's rotating. It's what is it? Chairs.
Musical mics.
Musical chairs.
Musical chairs. Yes, that's what it is.
Musical
With the
mics.
microphones around here tonight. I'd like to make an addendum. Yes, you need talent, but you need persistence.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
And so many people give up too early. When I started this work, I was in the seminary and I was given 6 months to find a homeless community in a very specific area. It's a small area. The entire town is 1,200 people. And I put signs up everywhere. We will be at this location on Fridays at 1:00. Come if you need food, come if you need this, come to talk, come to blah, blah, blah. And I talked to people and everybody said, oh yeah, we have a lot of homeless around here, but no homeless would ever show up at Friday at that specific location. And I sat at that specific location from the end of September and my deadline was March 31st. March 31st, I'm sitting there in front of the location and nobody is coming up. And I'm saying, I guess I've blown it. And that's when I see this guy walking down the street. And I said, I think we got somebody. I ran over to him and I said, hi, my name is Ellen. Are you homeless? And it was such a horrible thing to ask. And I've gotten better at asking it now. But my entire ministry is built on the 7 pages. I asked him, give me a list of the stuff that you need. I don't want to be the person to tell you, I'm here to give you this. Tell me what you need. He gave me 7 pages of handwritten, this is what we need.
Wow.
And I've built everything on Jim Richards' 7 pages.
Well, I know some people that are out in that area that would have, I know we have 1 minute left. I do have to shout out to the Jolly Trolley. They have that haunted Jolly Trolley tour that we're going on next week. He wants to make sure I can make it. So yes, we're all set. And last minute, any other words that you'd like to say?
I just want to thank you, Dawn. Thank you so much for having us here. And one last thing is Nature Coast Community Services Foundation in Hernando County. Please look us up. They need volunteers. We're building this residence for temporary housing to help people out of the woods. And the book that I mentioned, Uncovery, written by George Wood, is a testimonial of people that are homeless, that are suffering from mental illness, drug addiction, suicidal thoughts, and a solution.
Thank you for being here. We got 15 seconds. I have to shout out. Remember, go to Soap This on Facebook. They have a big event coming up. Bobby will play that commercial at the end with a lot of soap opera stars from The Young and Restless and Days of Our Lives. They're coming here to Clearwater. Go to Soap This on Facebook and check it out, and we'll see you there. I'm Dawn Reese, Hollywood Connections, but today was more miracle stories. Bye, everybody. God bless you. Bye.
It's a miracle, a true blue spectacle, a miracle come true.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
WZHR, Zephyr Hills.
FM 104.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper in Chicago. Angela Lansbury won several Tony Awards, one of them for Sweeney Todd.
These are probably the worst pies in London.
The 96-year-old actress has died. Film critic and historian Leonard Maltin.
Her career kind of floated for a while in the 1950s because the studio system was crumbling and there wasn't a lot of work. She reinvented herself on Broadway.
Appearing in musicals including Mame and Gypsy and later on TV's Murder, She Wrote. NASA says the DART spacecraft that crashed into a small harmless asteroid 2 weeks ago has succeeded in shifting the space rock's orbit. CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood.
Based on continuous observations by ground and space-based telescopes and radars, DART actually shortened Dimorphos' orbit around the larger asteroid by about 32 minutes. That's 3 times more than scientists were expecting. So all in all, it proves it might